Strategies for applying AI tools in teaching. One of the tools that I like to use is Kami. Now, Kami, I usually use it for note taking, and I also use it for exit tickets or practice problems. Here I have an example of practice problems from Geometry, Unit 5, Lesson 5. It has some multiple choice questions in there, so I can have Kami do the auto grading for me by generating those questions for auto grading. However, Kami currently only creates multiple choice and short answer questions. So a question like this one, where students had to match the correct graph with the correct scenario, the AI program doesn't really know what to do with this question. It turned it into a multiple select question. Now a workaround is that I can have the program automatically grade the questions that it can, and then I'll just have students answer this one using the Kami tools. It still reduces the workload. It's just one question that I have to go in there and manually grade, while all the rest are graded automatically. Quizzes has just turned around, and it allows for the generation of questions on a variety of different resources. It could be a worksheet, it could be a document, a YouTube video, or a website. So it has expanded completely. One of my favorite things about quizzes is that I can add similar questions to the one that I already included. It will fix any grammatical errors, and it will translate a quiz into another language. One of my favorite things is that if I put it in a regular equation or an inequality, it can convert that question into a real world scenario, and I can have it auto generate. Let's say that the first real world scenario that it gave me just doesn't really make sense. I can ask it to generate another question similar to that, or I can use that one and then just edit it so that it fits whatever idea I have as a more real world scenario question. It still simplifies the work, even if the question that it gives me first is not the question that I really want to use. But it's like generating more ideas that I can use. Simplifies the work. Now it allows for a lot of different modifications. It will reduce the options for the multiple choice questions, and it can simplify the questions. So this helps me out when I'm modifying a test or a quiz for students. You always have to go in there and revise the questions because they're not always going to be perfect. Here, this one, the AI program didn't know exactly how to translate everything, so I have dollar signs where I shouldn't have dollar signs, but they can easily be edited and fixed. One of the other things is always important to make sure that the AI program is marking the correct answer as a correct answer, not the other way around. Peer assessment. Peer assessment has a great variety of tools, and it has an extensive library where you can generate your own quizzes and tests. But my favorite part about peer assessment is the assessment reports, the standard reports that it generates. I can generate a different variety of reports depending on what exactly I'm looking at. So it helps me analyze all the data that I'm receiving through these assessments. Now, like everything, once again, it's always important to remember that this is just data that's being given back to you by an AI program, by a machine. You still need to go in there and make sure that, okay, maybe this is just one question that was answered from that standard. Do I need to include more questions that use that standard? Or it could even be the DOK level that was used in that standard. I need to make sure that students are answering questions under that standard in different DOK levels. So seeing this report just offhand doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's a quick way to assess it, but it's also a quick way for me to go back and check that question. Okay, what question had that standard, and see if I need to revise my assessments in any way, or maybe add more questions under that same standard. The more questions students answered under that standard, the more clear the report will be and the more accurate it will be as well. Main things to keep in mind when using AI tools is privacy. Students' information is going to be shared with many of these of these programs and applications that we use. So it's important that parents are aware of which applications are being used in class and how their students or their children's information is being shared with each one of these apps. Students also need to be aware of how their information is shared, and there will always be a possibility of leak of information, especially if the program that we're using uses third parties to store data. For example, Pear Assessment is one of those that uses a third party to store all their data. So there's always a possibility of a data breach.